Thank you for listening to Shulchanaruchharav.com.
Saying Birchas Hatorah when doing Mivtzaim of Tefillin and Mivtzaim, giving a Shiur Torah to the public, is Birchas Hatorah required to be recited by the participants. For example, you ask an individual who does not look religious if he is Jewish. He says yes. You ask him, would you like to put on Tefillin, and he agrees happily. You put on Tefillin with him, and now you're about to say Shema, and the question is asked, does he have to say Birchas Hatorah before he begins saying the Shema prayer? Likewise, and even more so when it comes to a Shiur Torah. You, Baruch Hashem, have called for a public Torah class in your community, and many of the unaffiliated and unorthodox Jews are participating and would like to come, as in a typical Chabad house setting. And you know quite well that many, if not all, have not said brachas this morning and have not said Birchas Hatorah. Should you begin the Torah class with Birchas Hatorah, or is there no need to do so? So we have a general ruling in the Shulchanaruch in chapter 47, Halacha 2 of the Alter Rebbe in the Alter Rebbe Siddur and other Achreinim, that in general it is forbidden for one to learn Torah prior to reciting Birchas Hatorah. However, the question is asked, does this apply even to the person on Mivtzaim putting on Tefillin and saying the prayer of Shema? And does it apply to a Torah class where they are simply being listeners and not learners? So regarding the prayer of Shema, the majority of poskim rule that although technically you are reading paragraphs from the Torah, and it's therefore certainly considered Torah learning, nonetheless, since its purpose is as a prayer, therefore, min hadin, it doesn't require you to say Birchas Hatorah beforehand. Nonetheless, even they agree that initially it is proper for one to recite Birchas Hatorah prior to the recital of Shema, as rules the Alter Rebbe in the Shulchanaruch in 46, Halacha 8. That it is best to recite Birchas Hatorah prior to saying any pasuk from the Torah, even if it's in a way of supplication, in a way of prayer. From all this, it's understood that lechatchila, initially it is proper and highly encouraged for people doing Mivtzaim Tefillin that prior to the individual saying Shema, he should be taught to say Birchas Hatorah, and at the very least to recite the third blessing of Asher Bachar Banu, which is considered the greatest of the three. Now let's turn to the case of giving Torah classes to the public, in which you may have individuals who have not yet said Birchas Hatorah, as they are not from and don't know anything about the morning blessings. So although they are only participating in the Torah class and listening to the words, nonetheless the majority of poskim rule, and so is the implied opinion of the Alter Rebbe and the Shulchan Aruch, that even simply hearing words of Torah is forbidden prior to saying Birchas Hatorah, and therefore you are required to say it prior to hearing a Shiur of Torah. As we have a rule which states, Shemea Ka'ina, that what you hear is like what you said. And therefore, by simply hearing a Shiur of Torah, it is as if you are saying a Shiur of Torah. And prior to speaking words of Torah, you must say Birchas Hatorah. Accordingly, it is absolutely encouraged for people who give public Torah classes to non-observant Jews, who can be assumed to have not said morning blessings and have not said Birchas Hatorah, to have one of the individuals say Birchas Hatorah out loud prior to the Shiur, prior to the class, and have in mind to be mitzi everybody present, and tell them also to have in mind to be yaitze the mitzvah. Or to simply give out papers with Birchas Hatorah and begin the class by having everybody say it together. This applies whether it's a Torah class of men or Torah class of women, or it takes place by day or takes place by night. In all of these cases, the worry still applies, as in all of these cases, forbidden for a man or a woman by day or by night to learn Torah prior to saying Birchas Hatorah. And the same would apply by participating in a Torah Shiur, as we explained. And aside for the halachic necessity of reciting Birchas Hatorah by a Torah class, doing so can also help imbue the Torah class participants with a understanding that what they are about to learn is not just another worldly wisdom, but is a holy wisdom of God. And therefore we are even saying a blessing prior to doing so, just like we say a blessing prior to a mitzvah. I am unsure why this is not so popular and not so done in most places, to begin a Torah class to unorthodox Jews with a preface of Birchas Hatorah. Although certainly it is a very beneficial thing to do, follows the halachic requirements, and elevates the atmosphere of the Shiur for the people present. and thereby it is obviously strongly suggested to be followed by those who are Magid Shiurim, whether men or women, and whether by day or by night.